Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Year on One car review. Today we are sitting in the Mercedes-Benz S600, a car that you've probably never ever heard of. This is not the Maybach S600, this is just the standard Mercedes-Benz S600. It's a very rare car because most people who want a V12 in an S-Class would usually go for the X65, the slightly more flashier version. Most people who don't see the value in the V12 would just go for the S500 or S560 or S550, whatever you call it these days. Or if you want to be chauffeured around, you're just going to go for the Maybach. So you don't really see many of these S600s, but I think this is sort of a hidden gem in the S-Class range which doesn't really get the attention it deserves. As always, we'll have a look at the exterior, the interior. I'll highlight some of the coolest features on the S-Class, and we'll also then go for a drive. If you want to see a full in-depth walk around of the Mercedes-Benz S600, I'll leave a video that I did down below where I take you through basically all of the car, all of the infotainment screens, and someone actually commented that that is the only walkthrough video of the non-Maybach S600 version, so you can check that out down below in the description. If you had to ask someone to describe the type of car that the President or Prime Minister were driving, they'd probably describe something very similar to what the Mercedes-Benz S-Class offers. The S-Class has a lot of chrome on it. It also has these very long sweeping lines which run the entire length of the car, which really gives it that long and executive sedan look. While the S600 is a very smart looking car, it is also not a car that is extremely flashy. It's definitely a lot more understated than what you get in the Mercedes-Benz X65. The wheels here that we see on the S600 are the 19-inch rims, which were exclusive to the Mercedes-Benz S600 and Maybach variants, which is very nice because it gives the car a nice unique touch. I also think it adds beautifully to the executive look of the car. The S600 can also be told apart from the other S-Class variants by its double design grille. This grille was only fitted to V12 variants like the S65 and S600, and then to the Maybach variants. However, this grille was later added to the entire lineup of the S-Class in the facelift, which is nice now that the S600 has it because it doesn't look outdated by the facelift. You can also tell the S600 apart from these nice little V12 badges here, and then if you come around to the back of the car, you also have a unique exhaust design which is supposed to replicate a twin tailpipe setup. The S600 is also one of the only cars which has a name which actually matches the engine displacement. This car obviously has a 6-litre engine, and rightfully so, it therefore has the 600 badging. The interior of the Mercedes-Benz S600 is also a very special place. It is evident that Mercedes-Benz did spend a lot of time on this interior, and the build quality is very, very good. The materials used are also of the highest standard. I particularly like how in the S-Class, the absolute tech fest of the car with the two huge screens are amazingly juxtaposed with an analog clock, some very tactile aircon vents, and a very old school retro sort of push knob which is used to control the airflow through those vents. Being the flagship of the S-Class lineup, the car also comes standard with the extended Napa leather, which means that the doors right down here to the bottom are covered in leather, as well as the lower parts of the dashboard. Basically every surface that you touch is covered in the finest Napa leather. The air vents, the knobs to control the airflow, all the climate buttons, as well as the volume button and the rotator dial also have this very nice nerding which gives the car a luxurious feel when you interact with it. One can however argue that the best seats in the Mercedes-Benz S-Class are actually in the rear of the car. The rear seat opposite to the driver completely transforms into its very own lounger with its own calf rest and even a little footrest which pops out of the front seat. The rear passengers also get heated seats, ventilated seats to keep the seat nice and cool on a hot day, fully adjustable electric seats, as well as the same massage functions that you get in the front. You also get your own blinds and your very own sunroof in the back. Here in the back you get your own little ashtray, you get a remote to control the rear screens, and you also get 3 pairs of these headphones. The rear passengers also get their own independent climate control in the back. They get 2 cup holders which are heated and cool, so you can keep your coffee warm or your cool drink cold. You have some 12-volt plugs, and you can even have a table fitted to the middle as an optional extra. You can also have a fridge fitted to the rear component here, although that will eat up into your luggage space a little bit. A nice little detail is that the grab handles are also coated in the finest Napa leather, and you even have your own vanity mirror here in the back. One of the coolest features of the S-Class is the front screen, which can have 2 things shown at the same time. What I mean by that is that if I'm sitting here in the passenger seat, I can look at it and see my radio or the movie that I want to watch, but the driver can look at something completely different, like the navigation. That's pretty much witchcraft. So depending on the angle which you look at it, you will see a different thing. The S-Class also has some of the most advanced seats you will see in a car. The dynamic seat will adjust the side bolsters to keep you in the middle when you go around corners, and you also have a whole lot of other options. One thing which is very cool on the car is the massage functions. So you have the same massage function on every single seat. So you can have a hot relaxing massage for your back, which is supposed to replicate a hot stone massage. So yes, you can have a hot stone massage while going to work or picking up the kids, but you really have a whole lot of massage functions here, which is really nice, and you can also adjust the intensity of it. One of the aspects of the S-Class which has not aged that well are the rear seat pockets. The rear pockets are held by these elastics here, which are supposed to hold it flush with the front seat. However, over time the elastics have loosened, which has meant that the rear pocket now sort of sits oddly like this, which doesn't look that nice. The car does have a very advanced cruise control system which can steer around corners, keep its speed with the car ahead, and also keep you in your lane. Now, having used some of the more later systems from BMW and Volvo, I would however say that the system in this 2015 S-Class is not nearly as good as some of the newer systems coming out today. One of the least known aspects about the Mercedes-Benz S-Class are the magnetic door hinges, which work very differently to a normal door hinge where you only have a set amount of positions. The magnetic door hinges basically lets you leave the door in whatever position you want and it will hold. Now this is particularly useful on a big car like the Mercedes-Benz S-Class, which has huge doors. The S-Class also has an infrared camera, which is particularly useful at night. It picks up pedestrians, it even picks up animals, and it will flash the headlights at those pedestrians and at those animals to bring your attention to them. If there is one word to describe the S600 driving experience, is that it is absolutely effortless. You just feel cocooned in the car. It's very luxurious, very comfortable, very easy. Everything is just taken care of, and it is a very pleasurable driving experience. The S600 is basically the Maybach without the extra length at the back. The interior, the drive, the engine, the power output is exactly the same, which makes it the perfect car for someone who wants a V12 but also wants to drive. We start off with the steering wheel of the car. The steering wheel is absolutely light. It's almost like butter. You do not feel anything. You can take the steering wheel and move it around basically with one finger, and that's really nice and gives the car a feeling like you're almost piloting a yacht. The S-Class has always been known to be a very, very quiet car, and the S600 is no exception. The V12 is so effortless that it really will go above 3000 revs, which means that the car is always quiet. You never really hear the engine overworking or anything like that. The car obviously has a lot of sound deadening, so there's very minimal road noise, and on a good day with the double glazed windows you don't really get much wind noise either. However, on a slightly windier day you do hear a bit of buffeting here in the front, but in the back you don't really get much. The S600 obviously has a 6-litre V12 engine which produces 830 Newton meters of torque. That's more torque than a Lamborghini Aventador, and also has 390 kilowatts of power. All of that torque and all of that power means that no matter what speed you're doing, you can basically floor the accelerator and you are met with a very nice linear pull. The torque is obviously available very low down in the rev range. The gearbox in the S600 also plays a very critical component in the way that the car feels effortless to drive. The 7-speed automatic transmission really does an amazing job at smoothing out all the gears, so it almost feels as if there's one seamless gear in the S-Class. The suspension in the S600 is absolutely amazing. It actually has cameras in the windscreen which scan the road ahead. It looks for imperfections and bumps, and it measures those bumps and sends that data off to a computer. The computer then does whatever calculations it needs to do, and it then adjusts the suspension so that when you go over that particular bump, you don't really notice it. It is so dramatic and so amazing that you can go over entire speed bumps and not notice them. The car will literally iron out any speed bumps. You get into another car and you drive the same road, you start to realize, oh wait, that bump wasn't there in the S-Class. That means that the car has a very, very composed, calm and comfortable ride. Now the S600 was built purely for comfort purposes. No one really looked at this car and said, let's make it sporty, but nonetheless it still has a sport mode, and you'd actually be surprised by just how capable this car is. if you do decide to push it. It's not obviously the best of driving experiences because it is so heavy, but it is still pretty decent, and it obviously does do 0 to 100 in 4.3 seconds, which is quite rapid for a car that is nearly 5.3 meters or so long and weighs over 2 tons. It is really quite amazing just how quickly this car will pick up speed. To round off then, the 2015 Mercedes-Benz S600 is still a very, very good car. The S-Class is obviously a car which is built for the future. It is a car that is way ahead of the time, and when you drive this car almost 5-6 years later after it was launched, you really do realize why the S-Class is the benchmark. I'd really love to drive the new S-Class and see how far ahead they've brought that car. Cars like the S600 are also slowly being discontinued. The big 6-litre V12 engine is not good for the polar bears, so we've been seeing them phased out for smaller hybrid packages. The S65 has already been discontinued, so we should take time to appreciate what the V12 brings, because we're probably not going to see them around much longer. If you are wanting to buy a 2015 S600, you obviously need to consider that there's not going to be much of a motor plan left on the car, and on the S-Class there's a lot of moving components, a lot of features which could potentially break. My recommendation would therefore to probably go for maybe something like a 2019 S600. Those cars are going to have a lot of motor plans still left in them, which is nice. You're going to be covered for quite a while, and they're also going to have maybe a few additional features like CarPlay, which is very useful in today's age. And that basically brings us to the end of this Mercedes-Benz S600 review. If you've enjoyed the video, please do consider dropping a like, and if you have any comments or queries, please feel free to drop them down below. I'll try my best to answer them. Otherwise, I'll probably see you on the next video.